There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers, a dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends, a place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view, but when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Hello and welcome. It's a brand new week and you're tuned into the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. Along with me at the Supernatural News Desk, Mr. Tim Dennis. Hello, Tim.
Hello.
We have some breaking news today, Tim. It is January 8th, 12 p.m. in the afternoon. Sullivan Schrader, the newest member of the Dark Lord family, has been born.
Aww.
Weighing in at an astounding 8 pounds, 15 ounces, at 22 inches long. He is doing well. My grandson is here and healthy and happy, and mommy is too. So this is all great news. My son Cliff and his daughter Corey just had their second child. Makes 3 grandchildren for me. Man, you get old quick in these day and age, don't you?
Well, you do, yeah. But congratulations. That's very
Thank
cool.
you. Very exciting stuff. Yeah, very exciting stuff. So that's my exciting supernatural news.
Well, that's very exciting.
And I understand we're running a little bit later than we normally do for the show today, putting it up. But we wanted to wait to give this notice. No, that's not really. I've been sicker than a dog. And I did coast to coast, back to back the last 2 days. And I'm really so doped up on NyQuil right now, Tim, and this could be a Cinco de Nino all over again. We never know where this could lead us.
Oh, there you go.
So let us begin in the world of the strange and supernatural news. Where shall we begin now?
Well, let's begin, Dave, with being you're drugged up. Let's begin up with a drugged up story, shall we?
Yes, perfect.
It seems adequate, or I'm a little drugged up myself. I'm coming off the old pain meds myself. Amy Winehouse has returned as a ghost and in the form of a bird, according to her father. I get the ghost part, but in the form of a bird, he might be chasing a little bit.
Well, she flipped a lot of them. So
yeah, she did, yes.
Yeah, that could be it.
There is that.
That could be the sign, yeah.
Right. Here's where it gets a little sketchy, folks, and I'll get into the story and
here's where it gets a little sketchy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's something a little confusing here too, and I'll get to it when we get into the story. Over 6 years after the death of British singer Amy Winehouse, and believe it or not, it's been over 6 years already, which That has kind of confused me, like you were pointing out.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, like you were pointing out earlier, time is really flying. Her father claims that the artist ghost often returns in the form of a ghost, which I get, or as a bird, like the one Winehouse had tattooed on her arm. Mitch Winehouse said in an interview with The Sun that his daughter's spirit visits her family's home in Kent. Her spirit comes and sits at the end of my bed. She just sits there, and it looks like her with her beautiful face, and she looks at me, and I say to her, "Are you all right?" Because I get nervous with her being there. Mitch Winehouse went on to say to The Sun, not literally The Sun, but The Sun, the newspaper, because it'd be weird if he were talking to The Sun. I mean, it'd be odd. But it is comforting in a way. Comforting. See, those pain meds are already doing it. But it is comforting in a way to know that she is here and around me. The soulful singer died in July of 2011 after alcohol poisoning. Her father is a London cab driver, which I thought he was a musician himself, but evidently he's driving cab now, and began the Amy Winehouse Foundation on September 14th of 2011. To support those struggling with drug and alcohol abuse in his daughter's memory. Winehouse said that his daughter's spirit visits most often around her birthday, September 14th, and that soon after she died, the singer began to visit her parents in the form of a blackbird. The week after she died, I was at my sister's house, Mitch went on to say, and we heard this thud, and a blackbird that looked identical to Amy's tattoo flew into the glass. We went and picked it up and put it up on a perch, and
It was her. She's still drinking.
Yeah, it's a drunk blackbird. That's where I said it. It gets
Mommy,
a little...
Daddy!
It gets a little weird after that. Just flying into glass at that point. Hey, Mom,
you say
Dad.
a blackbird that looks just like her tattoo. Doesn't her tattoo look like every blackbird?
Well, yeah.
This one was just a little bit more confused and drunken acting?
Right, yeah. This one had a little more Foster Brooks to it than most. There's a dated joke for you. But it happened at night when birds don't fly, Mitch went on to say, but it came back and sat on my foot. Her father went on to say during the interview, adding that he was sure that the bird was indeed Amy. The singer had a tattoo of a bird on her right arm with the music notes that read, "Never clip my wings." During her life, Amy Winehouse shared her addiction with the public in songs like Rehab and Back to Black. After her death, sales of the singer's music surged. Amy, a documentary about Amy Winehouse's life, won the 2016 Oscar for Best Documentary from filmmaker Asif Kapadia. Mitch Winehouse criticized the film's victory as he said it painted the singer in a negative light. This is where I begin to have some issues with Mitch. He came out and very strongly panned the actual documentary, but and I'll admit, Dave, this is where you and I kind of separate on the issue. I was a fan of Amy Winehouse. I loved her music. I know you're not a huge fan of hers, but you have to look at it for what it was. Amy was a very talented singer, tortured, sure, but again, she put it all on herself. I mean, it was her issue, her demons, her stuff, and in the end, she caused her own death. But to say that,
I just never got her. I mean, like I said, it's not like I listen to her and I think, God, what is she? I see she had some talent. I just don't understand. To me, she's in that same realm as James Dean, who I think you die too young sometimes and you get canonized for reasons that you really shouldn't be. I don't think James Dean was that great an actor either. He was mildly okay. And I think she was entertaining without being iconic. And she's come off more as an iconic legend now. And I think that's tragic if reason she's so iconic is because she died at an early age.
Well, she had an amazing voice. And even Tony Bennett, she worked a lot with Tony Bennett, and he even recognized this amazing voice. But here's the issue. They didn't get enough of her on recording. And she was hit or miss in concert. She would come out loaded, and if she came out loaded and she just didn't feel like performing, you got a crappy performance. If she came out and she was on and she was somewhat sober, you got the performance of a lifetime. And that unfortunately was the long and short of it. And unfortunately, her father doesn't want to see that. He didn't want to see that in the documentary. He didn't want to see that his daughter had these demons, and he didn't want to see it for what it was. And that exactly was what Amy Winehouse was. It was hit or miss. It was, it could either be this talented ingenue or it was this drug-addicted demon that would give you more problems than talent at times. And that's exactly what her story was.
All right. Where are we going next in the world of supernatural news?
Next, we will go to, let's do some entertainment news. Let's stick with the entertainment. Kiernan Shipka is going to star in Netflix Sabrina the Teenage Witch series. It's coming back around. Everything is cyclical, Dave. Netflix
they're doing something different with it this time, though. You remember that original one with Melissa Joan Hart? That was very lighthearted, fun, very in the vein of the Archie comic version.
Oh, are we going dark on this one?
Yeah, they're actually, following the success of Riverdale on CW, which I still have not been able to bring myself to watch, although people swear it is amazing. I just can't do it. I can't watch a sexualized, highly charged version of Archie and Veronica, and there really is a Jughead in this one, too, played by one of the twins from Sweet Life on Deck and Sweet Life of Cody and whoever the other kid was. So I just haven't done it. But I did read the Afterlife with Archie comic, and then there was a Sabrina comic book that came out that follows in that dark vein as well that I've really enjoyed. I thought both of them were really good, and I think they're going on a darker slant. Plus, the girl playing her is stunning. She was in. Did you watch Feud at all?
No, I wanted to, but I didn't see it.
She plays Betty Davis's daughter, and in this movie, and she was in Mad Men too.
Okay.
She was, I think, what's his name's daughter. She's stunning, and she looks like you've ripped her out of the pages from a 1930s magazine. She's just a beautiful young lady. So I think this should be interesting. But go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just thought that was a great.
I was going to say, if you like those comics, I'm surprised that you haven't jumped onto the Riverdale series, because it's kind of, even darker than the comic series.
Yeah, but to me, the comic book series, The Afterlife with Archie, was fun because of the whole zombie atmosphere and the whole paranormal slant. That's what I found intriguing about The Afterlife with Archie. I thought it was a great way for them to bring Archie into a new era and make him relevant. And to me, that was a cool twist. I really didn't. I don't know. I just didn't want to see kind of sexual trysts with Archie and junkie Jughead and stuff. I just that stick with the Afterlife with Archie stuff. I thought that was pretty fun because it kind of fits in our realm.
Junkie Jughead. That sounds like a Cabbage Patch doll.
No, Junkie.
Yeah, I know, Junkie Jughead.
Oh, I thought you said Drunkie. Yeah.
Well, actually, a Trash Pail Kid, not a Cabbage Patch Kid. Yeah. Well, Netflix has founded Sabrina, Mad Men and Feud, Betty and Joan alum Kiernan Shipka, like David said, has been tapped to star as the titular heroine in a Netflix upcoming original series based on the Archie Comics graphic novel, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. According to the description, the untitled Sabrina project imagines the origin and adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch as a dark coming-of-age story that traffics in horror, the occult, and, of course, witchcraft, tonally in the vein of Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist. This adaptation features Sabrina wrestling to reconcile her dual nature, half witch and half mortal, while standing against the evil forces that threaten her family, and the daylight world that humans inhabit. Shipka will play Sabrina Spellman, an empowered young woman, half human, half witch, who's beginning her dark education as a sorceress, even as she tries to maintain a normal life as a sophomore at Baxter High. Intelligent, compassionate, and brave to the point of recklessness, Sabrina is all that stands between us and the forces of darkness that threaten our world. Originally in development at the CW as a potential companion to Riverdale, also based on characters from Archie Comics, the Untitled Sabrina project landed a 20-episode, 2-season straight-to-series order at Netflix earlier this month. The Netflix series comes from the same team as Riverdale. Roberto Aguirre, I didn't mean to say it that way, like Riverdale. Roberto Sacasa, Berlanti Productions, and Warner Brothers TV brings that to you. Aguirre Sacasa, who penned the Riverdale pilot, and Lee Toland Krieger, who directed it, are reprising their roles on the Sabrina pilot episode. Aguirre Sacasa executive produces with Krieger, Berlanti Productions, Greg Berlanti, and Sarah Schechter, as well as Archie Comics CEO John Goldwater involved in the project. They went on to say, we're all such huge fans of Kiernan's work that when we started talking about who this new incarnation of Sabrina could be, her name was on everyone's wish list, said Aguirre Sacasa. This is a darker, more macabre version of Sabrina, and we're incredibly excited to see Kiernan make this comic character her own. So there you go.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing where they go with this. And I hope it leads into a spin-off of the Afterlife with Archie kind of vibe. Not necessarily rolling over onto Riverdale, but it maybe as a Netflix series. I just think it'd be cool to see it play out. But again, it did so well in the comic books, and it was such a kind of one shot. I don't know if that's something that would be much of a series. It might be kind of a good one series role for them, or one season of the show.
Well, I don't know. The way that Riverdale has taken off, and the way that it's hard to gauge with the way that TV has.
I don't think you could mess with actual Riverdale and turn Riverdale into that. I think people would get all up in arms. I just think if they did like part of a season of the Sabrina show where they kind of go dark with the Riverdale crew, not necessarily the same actors and actresses, but using the Archie characters like they did in the comics. I just think it'd be fun to watch it play out, but not anything extended. I don't want a Walking Dead Archie edition.
That's true. That might get a little out of control. You're right there.
Yeah, just a little bit. Let's roll. Where are we going to go next in the world of supernatural news?
Well, there's bizarre footage out there that shows a ghost motorbike traveling along a deserted motorway with no rider attached. The motorbike was filmed traveling along a motorway in the middle of the night with no visible rider seen aboard. Video footage has emerged appearing to show a riderless ghost motorbike traveling along a motorway in the middle of the night. The eerie clip was filmed in Malaysia and uploaded to social media, where it has attracted 13,000 shares and more than 1.5 million views in just 24 hours. Spooky footage shows a bike traveling along a mostly deserted motorway with ease, despite the fact that no visible rider can be seen aboard. The video shows one biker crouching down on one side of the road as he turns to the camera. On the other side of the motorway, the ghost bike comes into view, traveling along at an average speed, but with no rider on board. Social media users were quick to pass judgment on the clip. One said, "Oh my goodness, this is so eerie. I'm getting goosebumps. If it were me, I would turn the throttle to the maximum and get out of there." While another joked, "This ghost must have died due to REM pit. It's giving a warning to others so we don't end up like that." Matt, REM pit is a Malaysian term for an individual who participates in immoral activities and public disturbance with a motorcycle as their main transport. But other online viewers were not convinced by the video's authenticity. One said, "This is a fabricated video. Judging from the angle, you can already tell that the rider is hiding on the other side of the bike to hide from the camera." While another eagle-eyed viewer added, "My boyfriend said that the rider actually fell down from the bike. That is why the motor was still moving, even without a rider. Only God knows." Because God's an avid rider, Dave.
Well, I'm sure the guy who, fell off his bike knows too.
Yeah, he knows for sure. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Let's see. Next, we move on. We go to here's again.
Okay, there.
I'm shocked here because I don't know which
vibrating phone just go off.
Well, yeah, and I have it in my back pocket in a particularly sensitive area. People don't like it when we get political here, Dave, but damn it, I'm getting political.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm just saying. A Mexican psychic has predicted a definite turn in the U.S.-North Korea nuclear war.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And damn it, we're getting down to political terms here, Dave. It's time we take a stand here with this Mexican psychic.
Okay.
And he says no war.
I'll stand by that.
All right, yeah, sure. Hovering over his tarot cards and holding a microphone to his wizard-like beard. Oh, this is so descriptive. I love descriptive articles. Mexican psychic Antonio Vasquez on Thursday said there was no need to fear a nuclear war between the United States and North Korea. Whew. Oh, thank God. I was waiting for Antonio Vasquez to weigh in, Dave, despite watching Meet the Press.
I'll take good news anywhere I can.
Yeah.
Even if it's from a Mexican powerful wizard lord.
Right.
Guy.
Yeah. And, despite 40 points of hit damage and all that other stuff from this wizard, I'm so glad, that Face the Nation and Meet the Press, despite what they say, this El Brujo mayor or Grand Warlock known as Antonio Vasquez has weighed in, and we're all safe. Yeah. He is better known as El Brujo mayor, Dave. The
Brujo mayor.
El Brujo mayor.
Yeah.
Vasquez is famous in Mexico for his predictions at the start of each year on subjects ranging from politics to celebrities and sports. No need to fear that 2018 will see a clash of egos between U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un escalate into nuclear war. No. He says, Knight of Swords, no bombs will fly. They will reach an agreement. Whew. Oh, it feels so good to get that out.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. But there will be no such good fortune for Colombian pop star Shakira, Dave. Oh, this is where the worm turns.
Oh, she's going to go to war with North Korea?
Yes, Dave.
No, Shakira, don't do it.
Oh, those hips don't lie, Dave. They She
I don't
recently
know exactly how that song goes, but I'm pretty sure it's in that vein.
You almost made it sound like the Speedy Gonzales little deal there. You were like, no. You almost went Mexican hat dance on the deal, and that, my friend, could have been dangerous. She recently had to suspend a world tour after a vocal cord injury. I don't know if you know this, Dave. Some athletes play with pain. Some
like
get
this kid right here.
Yeah,
radio show after radio show while dying of the man flu.
Right. A lot of radio hosts have died from the man flu. I'm glad, my friend, that you have toughed it out. There was that terrible Larry King incident of 1973 where he nearly succumbed to the man flu, but you have played through it, my friend. Of course, Shakira now playing with the vocal cord injury. She's decided to wuss out, I believe the term is. I think it's wuss out. Is that how we put it on the injury report? Oh, well, never mind. Yeah. It turns out that the Grand Wizard over there in Mexico, is that the term that we use, Grand Wizard?
No, I don't think that's that has different connotations.
Okay. He says, I sense someone has cast a spell on her, he said with a worried look. I don't think she'll recover. Shakira is not going to recover, Dave?
Good grief.
Venezuelan president...
Somebody will be able to break that curse.
I hope so. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, Brazilian leader Michael Temer, and Mexican drug lord Joaquin Guzman should also look out. El Brujo foresees an assassination in one or the other South American country, and very poor health for Guzman, known as El Chapo, who is currently in solitary confinement in a U.S. jail. That's not good. Vasquez also ventured a prediction on the 2018 World Cup in Russia. Defending champions Germany will defeat Spain in the finals. So get your bets in, Dave.
They're in.
They're in.
Minnesota Vikings all the way.
You know what? Can I just, I'm going to give my own Mexican a Grand Wizard prediction right here, if you will.
I don't think that's the right term
at all. It's not? No? Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Positive. Grand Wizard's a totally different thing.
I am totally going conspiracy theorist on this. Are you ready for this, my friend?
Mm-hmm.
After this weekend's football, after the NFC playoff, after the worm turned everything here, Dave, this is, I am convinced now that Don King has lined up the stars for the Minnesota Vikings to win it all. Are you ready for this? Put on your tinfoil hat, my friend.
I don't need to.
As Michael Corleone has said, all family business will be settled this year. Check this out. Yep. The Saints win yesterday.
Right.
Do you remember Bountygate?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Minnesota Vikings will get their revenge on Bountygate come next weekend. What's the other playoff game that happens next weekend? Atlanta at a weak Philadelphia team. I smell an upset over in Philadelphia. What happened here in town in 1998?
I don't want to keep thinking about it.
The missed field goal. Right? The year that we should have gone to the Super Bowl. It was easy. It was a layup, right? For us to go to the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah, that year.
So therefore, we'll get rid of that business. Atlanta shall be defeated in the NFC Championship game right here in Minnesota. And therefore, Minnesota shall host the Super Bowl against who, Dave? The New England Patriots, who seem to be having some infighting right now, who can't seem to get it together, Dave. They're ripe for the picking.
See, you know what I think is here's conspiracy theory part 2.
Or part 3. Wait. I can finish this. Are you ready for this? The Minnesota Vikings, who have never won a Super Bowl, one of their opponents, Dave, in one of those Super Bowls happened to be the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are also one of the favorite teams to go to the Super Bowl. And one of their head coach happens to be Mike Tomlin, who is a former defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings. It's all aligned, Dave. It's all aligned for the Minnesota Vikings to win it this year, courtesy of Don King. You're welcome.
Wow, Don King. Yeah.
Yep.
See, I think it's interesting that the press release comes out now about the whole New England Patriots thing, because I think that's them building false hope and security and senses of security for the teams around. They're like, oh, there's so much problem there. We're going to roll over them. And then I think that's just some ploy. That's some evil Belichick ploy.
You think so?
Yes. Yes. He and Tom Brady, as they're slaking the blood of virgins, came up with this. And that's an assumption. I could be wrong. Allegedly slaking the blood of virgins.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Right.
Slaking their thirst in the blood of virgins.
I think that, and this is the other
theory. I heard they have to go to Pittsburgh to find virgins, though.
They do, yeah. I mean, It's either that or Green Bay, but they're out of it.
Oof.
It's really...
where do you think you're going to find a virgin in Green Bay?
There are plenty of them. I mean, would you touch them? Honestly, have you seen some of the women in Wisconsin?
Tim at darknessradio.com. Your hate mail can begin. And now.
Anyway, so Dave, the other part of this too, and here's the other part of the conspiracy theory.
Uh-huh.
The NFL realizes that this is a Super Bowl in a northern city. Not going to be ripe for tourism, not like Miami or New Orleans, a warm weather city where you're going to get a lot of tourism. So what better way to fill the stadium than to have locals from Minnesota come in and fill a stadium, a brand new stadium that seats 70,000 plus, than to have locals from Minnesota cheer on their home team in the Super Bowl. Do you see the logic that goes into fixing this thing for the Minnesota Vikings?
Not at all. You're really you're on too many meds, Tim. It's time to lay down. Yeah. You know what? Go. I hear that they chocolate coated those bars, those poles outside today. You should go out and put your tongue on one. Yeah, they taste just like chocolate.
It might actually be above freezing today too.
Yeah, why not give it a shot? And speaking of giving it a shot, where shall we go next in the world of supernatural news?
I believe this is India. My apologies to India for the next story. I'm about to butcher your names.
Okay.
All right. A special team has been assembled to fight the ghost of superstition in Odisha. That's the only name I'll get right in this entire story. We go to Baripada. The district administration has decided to form a rapid response team or teams at block level to combat witch hunt and superstition-related atrocities. Collector Surendra Kumar Meena has issued letters to all block development officers, or BDOs, that's what the kids are calling it, Dave, of 26 blocks through sub-collectors of Baripada, Karanija, Kaptipada, and
bless you,
Rai Rangpur to form the teams.
I got to be honest, you sound like you're reading a newscast as Scooby-Doo.
Rai Rangpur to form the teams at the earliest. Meena said the Child Development Project Officer, Block Medical Officer, Block Education Officer, Welfare Extension Officer, Inspector in charge of the local police station, Nehru Yuva Kendra volunteer besides president and secretary of Block Self-Help Group Federation. I feel like I'm reading random words here. Will be the members of the team, while the BDO will be the convener. There is an urgent need to form rapid response teams at block level to prevent evil practices of witchcraft, black magic, and sorcery, which are on the rise. The teams will intervene in such cases as and when required in collaboration with local police or other line departments, the collector said. Meena further said people of the tribal-dominated district will continue to believe in superstition. The worst hit are women and children who are vulnerable to witch hunting. The rise in sorcery-related incidents has brought a bad name to the district. The rapid response teams will keep a close watch in sensitive areas to put a check on such evil practices, he said. The district police had recently launched an anti-witchcraft campaign after a series of sorcery-related cases were reported in Mayurbhanj. This apart, the National Service Scheme unit of North Orissa University had also launched a week-long awareness drive in rural pockets prone to sorcery-related violence. As per official reports, at least 98 sorcery-related cases were registered in Mayurbhanj, of which 53 resulted in deaths and 45 were of assault and torture in the last 7 years. On October 3rd of last year, 6 women were tied to a T and beaten up by villagers of Madhupur within Badasahi police limits on sorcery suspicion. Earlier than Vice Chancellor of North Orissa University, Professor Prafulla Kumar Misra had submitted a report on witchcraft to Governor S.C. Jamir According to the report, major reasons behind sorcery-related violence in the tribal-dominated district were illiteracy, poor health, and economic condition. And it just says we can stay up to date on all the latest Odisha news with the new Indian Express app, Dave. I didn't know they had one.
Yeah, well, it's new. That's why they're telling you.
I guess. So there you go. I've just given a plug for the app.
Let's. Where are we going to go next?
We go to Broxbourne, wherever that is. I think it's somewhere near Broxbourne, where a spiritualist shop branded unethical for offering psychic courses to children. Evidently, that's a no-no, but the owner says she's just trying to help young people relax in a world of stress. I mean, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but let's go on.
Right. The owner of a Broxbourne spiritual shop has responded to claims that she's offering unethical psychic development courses to children. The Spiritual Awakening in the precinct off Broxbourne High Road is a spiritual and holistic center and shop which offers courses and treatment from massages to clairvoyance evenings. I think I once went on a date to a clairvoyance evening. I'm not quite sure. But one of the courses offered, psychic development for teens, has come under fire. One woman, a psychic medium who wished to remain anonymous, said it was unethical to offer such courses to children. Every other medium wouldn't train someone who was a child, she said. I might disagree with that, I think.
What kind of moron would say that? As a matter of fact, I think 99.9% of the mediums we've talked to on the show talked about what love and comfort they got from family members and people that were willing to help them develop that ability.
Yeah.
And look at all the ones that have become hardcore alcoholics and have had other issues because they felt they had to bury it or that it was bad to have that.
Right.
I think that's fantastic that somebody's trying to teach people at an early age how to understand and control those abilities.
Right. I know through personal experience, we don't read to anyone under the age of 18, this person was quoted as saying. They are also advertising it on a Wednesday afternoon when children should be at school. And there's also another course where it says all ages.
Now that might be the worst planning right there. Yeah, maybe that is.
Well, although, if they're making up their homework, it's no big deal. And there's also I just made that up. And there's also another course where it says all ages welcome. The psychic development course for teens is aimed at 12 to 18-year-olds and is £10 each. The course is billed as covering many subjects, giving participants the knowledge to continue their spiritual pathway. This will cover death, suicide, chakras, guides, and much more, adds the description. Jane Barton of the Spiritualist National Union said it does not advocate nor support the offering of psychic development courses for children and young people. Awareness of spirit at an early age is a natural and spontaneous gift which should be allowed to manifest normally in its own time, she added. Any attempt to force this faculty runs the risk of having a detrimental impact on the emotional development of the child, who almost certainly does not possess the maturity to deal with the demands of forced training. Children are entitled to enjoy a happy and balanced life in a safe and caring environment, free from the stresses and strains that would be imposed by a premature attempt to force psychic development on them, while accepting the phenomena they experience as a natural part of their life. However, owner Angela O'Brien said it was not unethical or illegal to offer courses to children, that beliefs were not being forced onto those attending. This course was born from a request from one of my circle members, she added. Her children suffer from depression and ADHD. She feels that the course would help her children relax rather than continue down the medical route, which seems these days is slow and underfunded. I have since spoken to a few people, one of whom is a teacher, who confirmed that meditation and mindfulness is taught today in Hertfordshire schools. Similar courses are available to children elsewhere, and the Atlantic Spiritual Center in Enfield offers meditation for children as young as 7 years old. And the Silva method, a type of training of mental processes, is taught to children aged 7 to 10 in Stratford. Ms. O'Brien added that it is down to the discretion of parents as to whether their children should attend the courses. As with any other belief or religion, we do not allow children to walk into the shop and book a course, she said. This is merely a service to help young people in a modern world full of stress and pressure. Spirituality is the adherence to a spiritual philosophy without adherence to a religion. It emphasizes the personal development of an individual rather than a relationship with the divine, and it aids with the relationship with the self, others, and nature. There you go.
I think it's great. I think there should be people teaching that. I think that's probably more important than half the crap they teach in schools nowadays, is developing that intuitive nature in us. Because I believe that would be teaching us more about humanity and teaching us how to coexist and work with one another. And once you're in touch with those kind of abilities and emotions, I think that's a great thing. So
yeah,
kudos to her.
There's no great harm in
There's always some
that,
old biddy nagging and bitching and trying to shut down the fun factory.
That's right. That's right.
Those kids and their psychic abilities and their rock and roll music.
Before you know it, they're reading my mind.
That's right. We have any more stories here?
One more. We've got one last one here today. It turns out, Dave, that Manhattan has reported more UFO sightings than any other borough in New York. There's a shock. Houston Street, we have a problem. Manhattan has gone from Studio 54 to Area 51. There's your clever pun for the day. Leading the 5 boroughs in sightings of unidentified flying objects over the last 2 years. Data from the National UFO Reporting Center says so. Otherworldly tourists have included travelers in a round orange orb, a crew in a cigar-shaped craft, and even an unknown creature that rudely teleported into one New Yorker's backyard, because that's trespassing. According to reports made to the Washington-based group, one Manhattan true believer claims a close encounter just by looking outside the gym window. I don't know if you've ever had that happen, Dave, but sometimes you're staring blankly as you're on the treadmill and a UFO just shows up. It happens. It was rotating like a drill as it was also moving.
It's cute that you think I'm ever on a treadmill.
Oh,
that's cute.
I was giving you the benefit of the doubt there, my friend. You know, it could happen the week after New Year's. You never know. It was rotating like a drill as it was also moving off axis and in a line towards the east, the person explained. As it rotated, you would be able to see 4 lights that would only be on one side and seen after it fully rotated. It has to be hundreds of feet long. Then after it appeared, 4 other smaller craft appeared that were to me saucer or spherical that blipped in and out. In all, there have been 27 Spacey sightings, not Kevin Spacey, but other Spacey sightings in Manhattan since 2016, with Brooklynites close behind, reporting 24 strange objects, from a very bright round-shaped light in the sky to a fireball of lights. Queens denizens described 20 unexplained episodes, with a particularly impressive arrival last June. Groups of about 7 UFOs with a leader to the side, not the site, and a cluster to its north, one witness reported. Just 8 mysterious incidents originated out of the Bronx, while Staten Island residents got interstellar a paltry 6 times. You need to catch up, Staten Island. Surprised a UFO that was hovering silently above me, then it shot away, one Staten Islander shrugged last January. The reports include time and general place of occurrence, but can be painfully short of detail. Last May 3rd, which is hard for me to say at this time of day, someone in Brooklyn simply reported UFO. That was it. It was like, hey, UFO over there. That's all they had to say.
I seen it. No big deal.
Yeah.
Time to move on. We got other stuff to do.
Then I went back to my grinder.
Can you tell me where you saw it? No, I cannot.
No.
What were you doing when you saw it? That is something I do not feel comfortable talking about at this point.
Something fell off a truck.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say. The center's director is confident that the truth is out there. Do I believe in UFOs? I absolutely believe. I believe what the data says. Peter Davenport insisted, read the cases and you can come to the realization that these objects we have been calling UFOs for 70 years are being seen across the country and across the world on a daily basis. Continued Davenport. The most common claim the center receives is lights in the sky that can't be identified. Davenport noted that since May 2012, we started seeing a type of report of clusters of red, orange, amber, yellow, or gold lights. Good photos, reliable photos of UFOs are scarce because people have just seconds to capture objects capable of moving at tremendous speeds, he explained, and we aren't that quick over here. I added that last part. The group says it's cataloged more than 128,000 mysterious sightings worldwide since 1974, with most in the United States, 13,033 originating in California and New York. New York has collected just 4,500 in that time. Again, they're not that quick. There's a sense that this is New York. There can't be a UFO, Davenport said, or they just don't want to get involved. because, you get involved, then, you got to explain things.
Nothing. You didn't see nothing. Let's just move on.
You know what happens? You're involved, and then all of a sudden, you got to go to court, and then you got to take time off of work, and then, and then you can't feed your family.
Man, forget about it. Sounds like a lot of work to me, my friend.
That's right.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, it's time to roll out your stories. If I can get through them without coughing my brains out, it's Parashare next here on Beyond the Darkness.
Beyond the Darkness.
All right, we're back. I hope that you had a great little break there. We're back to share with you some Parashare stories from you, the listeners around the world, taking your time out to type or send us or smoke signal or tweet to Tim your stories. You can always contact me, Dave, at darknessradio.com to share your real-life encounters with the paranormal. And just like these people, you may get them shared right on our show. And tell them what the prize is for getting their story on our show, Tim.
It's a famous Stan Lee no prize.
That's right. You get absolutely nothing but our love and admiration. How about that? That's still pretty good.
That is good.
You can't wear it in a rainstorm, but it's still pretty good.
Right.
Hey, Dave. Sorry, you're not on this one, Tim.
What?
Love the episode on Q Station and wanted to share my experience. My husband and I did 10 days in Australia for our honeymoon in 2010, and always being a ghostly person, my husband surprised me with a ghost tour of Q Station. I'd never heard of it, so he really researched this place just for us. He's a keeper. Anyway, and that's what she wrote in there, just so we're clear.
Oh.
I'm not making any judgments. He might be a keeper. He may not. I have no way of knowing. Anyway, this place was, of course, spooky. Arriving there by ferry at night, bummed to hear how beautiful it is because we missed all of that. We met our guide as well as other guests and started the tour. I had taken some weird photos and visited several buildings when we made it to the Grave Digger's Cottage. The Grave Digger's Cottage is where they're sticking me when I go out there in June, Tim.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, being at the front of the group, my husband and I followed two women into the lit building and made our way toward the back of the building to make room for the guests that followed us in. As we walked toward an open door past the living area, all four of us saw two black figures move very quickly past the other side of the doorway. Thinking nothing of it and assuming they were people from our group who entered from a rear door, we walked to the back to the room to check it out. We saw nothing. We all turned to each other and started in with the what the hell kind of banter. Seeing way too many ghost investigation shows and knowing proper procedure, I told everyone to stop and said we should just tell our tour guide what we saw separately so we don't influence each other. Sure enough, we all had the same story of two black figures, one slightly taller than the other, move inhumanly fast past the doorway from left to right. They were blacker than black and very flat. Is that flatter than flat? Like they were made out of black construction paper. It wasn't really scary, just weird. Your brain tries to make sense on it based on what you already know and have experienced, but it's such a disconnect. I'm very thankful that I got to have this experience with my new husband and that it didn't freak us out too much. Hope you have a great time and be safe when you're over there. It is some of the most dangerous of the out of doors. Love the show, all you guys do. Thank you, Jocelyn from Austin, Texas. Well, your reference there, Tim. Love you guys and all that you guys do.
Aw.
So kind of like the end of the original Gilligan's Island theme.
Nice.
Remember, they never put in the Professor and Marianne. It was just the movie star,
right, and the rest,
millionaire and his wife, and the rest.
Yeah.
You were just kind of and the rest for this story.
Well,
but I will tell you, I think we saw those shadow people when we were out at Q Station as well. And her telling that story reminded me. Bill Chappell and I went into one of the rooms and thought that there was somebody in the back of the room, and the figure moved, and it was black. It was a dark black shadow figure that just bolted out of the room. Ugh. So, yeah. And if you're interested in joining me this June down under, and that's not as dirty as it sounds, we're going to go to Australia. Bill Chappell and I will be down there along with some other great speakers having a fantastic time, and we're going to get a chance to investigate Q Station. You can find information by visiting darknessevents.com. That's darknessevents.com. Oh, here we go. Hi, Tim and Dave.
Yeah.
Son of a... I wanted to tell you about my dream. I have a dream. I have a dream. She says that I think I might have been some sort of bizarre dream visitation. To give you some background information, I'm a skeptical believer. I've always been interested in the paranormal, but did not start believing my own experiences until I started seeing and hearing spirits in my early 20s. I'm only 25. In my dream, I was in an old house. It had paneling on the walls, and it looked familiar. However, it was not a place that I'd ever lived. There was a man and a woman that I vaguely recognized, but I didn't know where I knew them from. I got that grandpa vibe from this man, who was wearing suspenders and had Coke bottle glasses. I felt a presence, and although I could not see his presence, I knew it did not like me and wanted me gone. As I'm trying to get out of this house, the man suddenly starts ranting and raving about how he must pay for the sins of our family. He isn't speaking directly to me. He was speaking to this unknown woman, but I knew that he was referring to my family. As he continues raving on about how he's to blame for our sins and that he's failed us, I feel like I'm being chased by this unseen presence, and I can't get out. As soon as I'm about to reach the door, the man sits down and starts carving Bible verses into his face to atone for our sins. I finally open the door and jump over the fence, and then I wake up. After I woke up, with my heart pounding in my chest, I can't fall asleep. So I pray and ask God to protect me. This is the response I get from what I believe was Holy Spirit. Fear not, for you are a child of God. You are being attacked. They are waging spiritual war against you. You are protected by God. Sleep now and rest. I take my gift with a grain of salt. Always second guess myself, however. This was too real for me. My great-grandpa was an extremely strict Southern Baptist preacher, but he died before I was born. I am the only one on my mother's side of the family that is Christian. My mother is Wiccan and worships multiple gods and goddesses, and we do not get along. I had another dream visitation several years ago from an old boyfriend of mine who was KIA in Afghanistan. We did not end on ideal terms. We were at this beautiful park. The colors were so vivid and beautiful. There was a mountain in the distance and a gorgeous river that was so still it looked like glass. He was sitting on the park picnic table as I was waking up, and he stood up to give me a hug. He said, "I never told you how sorry I am." When I woke up from that dream, I felt like a weight had been lifted from my chest. I felt an overwhelming feeling of love and happiness that I've never felt since. If this email wasn't too long already, I'd tell you the ghost story that was the ghost that was in my mom's bathroom that liked to angrily watch me shower and enjoyed torturing our guests by turning on the faucets while they were using the restroom. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you guys helping go by a little faster. Keep up the great work, Kara.
What?
Yeah.
She's not.
See, I've never had that problem. I guess I didn't live in an old house. Every house I've been in, when you turn on the hot water or flush the toilet, or nothing changed, just the water pressure, never the temperature of the water. So you could turn on the hot water somewhere else and run the hot water out quicker, but it wasn't like somebody turning on the hot water in another room blasted me with cold water.
We're not getting the angry shower story?
No, that was it, I guess. That was the entirety of the angry shower story. Unless there's more, Kara, then feel free to send us that story you tease. Now, here is something I will, that brings up, her stories bring up another idea, Tim.
Okay.
I've had a lot of people recently, because we've been talking about dreams, tell me that they have had dreams where they are witnessing people that don't seem to know they're there. They're watching people, they're talking to, they're watching people talk, they're kind of doing this. And I'm wondering if in those moments, so Tim's asleep, you're dreaming of some strangers and their conversation. And maybe when they start to sense something, maybe you're the ghost that they're sensing. They think they've got a dead person. They've just got the astral dream projection of Tim Dennis.
Oh, yeah.
Thoughts?
So that's a good theory. I like it. The astral travel theory. I could buy into that. The whole you're the presence in the room that they're feeling. I guess maybe I could even buy into that a little bit more than just a random spirit that happens to be in the room that you're sensing. Yeah. I can dig it.
Yeah, maybe why sometimes it's a one-off.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Something to what you say there. Consider, Tim.
I would consider it.
Dave and Tim.
Hi.
Finally, as it belongs. Let me start with, as a kid, I used to stay up late at night with my radio and flashlight, hiding underneath my covers, listening to the legendary Art Bell on Coast to Coast AM. And through the years, I've tried to stay true to my roots with Coast to Coast. And even though they aren't art by any means, I respect both George Knapp and George Norrie for all they do. However, I'm also getting old, and I can't stay up into the morning hours anymore like I used to, and frankly, I'm just too cheap to join their paid service.
Whoops.
But after hearing Dave guest host on Coast to Coast many times, I decided to give Darkness Radio a try. The verdict? I absolutely love it. Your shows have all the great content I enjoy. Reputable sponsors with very few commercials, and with the Darkness Radio app, I can listen to all of your shows anytime, any place, all for free. Dave, you're great, and Tim's all right, too.
Well, thanks.
His jokes are crap, but I enjoy his interviews.
Wow. Well, thank you, I guess.
But seriously, though, the jokes. Yeah. That's what he has to say.
Wow.
Huh. All right.
All right.
Appreciate it. On to what I'd like to share. I've had many paranormal experiences throughout my life. In fact, at times it felt as if the paranormal is attracted to me. I'm starting to really believe that there might actually be some hereditary nature to these experiences, and that they are not just by happenstance. My mother would tell me very openly these stories of growing up in an old funeral home and about these casual conversations she routinely had with a friendly ghost who also shared a bedroom while growing up. In this house, the lights would turn off and on again. Attic doors that had tirelessly been secured with nails would just effortlessly fly open at random. Many electricians were called in to find no problems with the wiring, and those attic doors would be nailed shut and then guaranteed not to open again, but they always did. And although the weird brand of chaos could relentlessly ensue, neither my mom or grandmother feared the entity they cohabitated with. They were never scared or worried. You see, my grandparents were divorced, and although my mom and grandmother lived alone in this big, old, empty home, both of them have said that they always felt safe with a sense of protection, like someone always had their back and best interest at heart. My grandmother had even described to me that the house had warm and loving feeling. After everyone who moved out, both my parents, who were dating at the time, met my uncle and his wife at the house for a final walkthrough and goodbye. Well, to verify the entity that my mother swore to them existed, they asked the board a few stupid and... Oh, wait, I skipped a line here. I apologize. It's the NyQuil. After everyone had moved out, both my parents, who were dating at the time, met my uncle and his wife at the house for a final walkthrough and goodbye. Well, my dad, who is the most hard-headed skeptic I've known, came equipped with a Ouija board, wanting to both test the power of this magical board and also to verify the entity that my mother swore to him existed. They asked the board a few stupid and uneventful questions that led up to the important one, the question of whether or not a spirit was in the house. The board then replied to them, yes. Naturally, they thought it was a hoax and that someone in their group of the four was playing a joke in on the rest. With their next question, they asked the entity where it lived. Swiftly, the board answered them by spelling out Valerie's room, who is my mother. Instantaneously, with the reading of the last letter aloud, a roaring gust of wind shot through the entire house like a tidal wave, causing all the candles they had to blow out, and every light bulb was turned on in the house to explode. At this time, both my skeptical father and tough army uncle frantically scrambled for the door, and what I can only imagine is being comical and very Scooby-Doo-like, while my mother and my aunt threw the board into a closet, slamming the door and also kicking rocks at the house. I've interviewed all four of them multiple times over the past 30 years, all separately and still today, and they all have the same facts and swear by the same story. It's probably the only thing my uncle and ex-wife will ever actually agree upon. And lastly, a story of my own. Ooh, this guy's good, Tim. I think it's Skylar. What do you think? Is that a guy or a gal?
Skylar?
Skyler.
Boy, that's a tough one. I'm guessing girl, but...
well, hopefully. We'll not offend. We don't mean to.
Well,
and lastly,
you did say something about my joke, so I'm not worried about offending either way.
As long as I can remember, I've seen some crazy and unexplainable things that, if had gotten out to the public, would definitely certify me as insane. And until I had started listening to paranormal radio, I thought I was alone in these experiences. I was probably only 5 when I watched my little sister's Raggedy Ann doll get up and walk across the room, only to drop to the floor as my mom walked in. At age 8, I witnessed another one of my sister's dolls, a glass china doll with a white painted face, turn its head to look, and then turn its head to follow my movement as I passed by. In high school, I experienced multiple spells of missing time. Both of them, I was accompanied by different friends who also experienced something they thought was strange. One while driving down a road and while walking through a harvested cornfield. Now, I've now learned to just accept these as common occurrences. However, the most frightening experience in my life happened when I was 16. I had just wrecked my first vehicle with what little money I had purchased this 1991 Mazda 626 that had just been sitting on the side of the road. The initial story was that the owner was deceased and his brother was selling his belongings. It was a beat-up piece of crap. However, at $500 and my limited income, I thought it would work great to get back and forth to school while also doubling as a romantic place to take the ladies. Oh, I think we just got our answer.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Schuyler. Sorry about that. Not to mention, it also came with an unopened box of expensive car audio speakers in the trunk. After one of those rare occurrences of serving as the latter, I had dropped my girlfriend off at home at about 11:50, knowing full well I had to be home at midnight, and she lived much farther than 10 minutes away. My house was far from town, deep in the dirt road countryside of the northeastern Indiana, and while speeding haphazardly down one of them, I looked in my rearview mirror. With the bright moonlight shining off of his face, clear as day, sat a man with a disgusting, gaping hole in the side of his head, staring blankly and coldly back at me through the mirror. I'm unsure how long he remained there because I turned the mirror away and never looked back again. Once home, while both crying and trying to catch my breath, I told my mother what I had just witnessed. With understanding and no questions asked, we put the car up for sale the next day, and it was never spoken of again. Right then, I felt that my mother and I both shared some sort of connection to the other worlds. Later on, through mutual friends, I'd learned that the original owner of the car had actually shot himself in the head while on the run from the police shortly after he had robbed an electronics store the next town over. Coincidence or not, I had actually just installed those expensive speakers that were found in the trunk earlier that afternoon, 8 before going to meet my girlfriend that night. I think next time I write, I'll share with you my encounter on a local legend called Bloody Run and the details of the encounter my ex-wife and I had with a UFO. Thank you for letting me share, Schuyler in Indianapolis. Thank you, Schuyler. Good creepy stories. Although, Tim, you're driving along, you're booking, you're flying down the road, right? Trying to loosen your load. You got 7 women on your mind. And all of a sudden you look in the rearview mirror and you see a man with a gunshot wound to the head staring blankly back at you. Would you just move your mirror and keep driving, or would you pull over and barrel roll out of the car?
Realistically, I may keep driving.
Bullshit. Bullshit. I don't know if you heard me, Tim, but bullshit! Come on. You're not that tough. I'm telling you, if you see a ghost in the back seat with a bullet hole in his head glaring at you, you're out of that car. You're Scooby-Dooing at home.
I would tend to question my own faculties first before I barrel roll out of there.
Not me, sister. I'd Luke Duke it right out of that car. We'll scoot out the window while the car's still driving. Hold on, cousin Luke. That would be the end of it, Tim. Well, guess what, Tim? Another show has found us because of Talk is Jericho. So let's address that up front, can we? Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
We are well aware that a press release has been released that Chris Jericho has left Podcast One and taken his entire network with him and all of his shows. Well, we're here to tell you that is not true. Well, it is true that Chris has left and will be going on to Westwood One, I believe, and some shows will be joining him. Beyond the Darkness has a home right here on Podcast One. And unless something major or dramatic changes, I don't see that ever changing. Do you, Tim?
No.
So we've got a home here. You guys like us here. We like being here. So we're going to continue to be here. You don't have to keep hitting us up on social media or in emails asking if we're moving. We wish Chris the best. We're still going to be part of Chris's cruise that takes place in October. because we are his paranormal show. So he needs us there, Tim. He wants us there. Yep. He needs us there.
And we're still part of the Jericho network, so it's not like, it's just we're on a different station. That's all.
Yeah. So that's the scoop. All right. Hi, Dave and Tim. I found your show after listening to an episode of Talk is Jericho, and I've spent many shifts. That's shifts, Tim. Since then. I wanted to share an experience that not only me, but my entire extended family experienced. It was 2012. My brother-in-law got married. I don't know. I went into old man mode for that one, Tim. It was a huge wedding with over 400 guests from all over the United States and Canada. After the wedding, my wife's cousins from California had extended their stay and had decided he would like to take my family, my wife's sister and family, and my new brother and new sister-in-law to Niagara Falls for the weekend, as his child had never seen the falls. We live about an hour and a half from the falls in Ontario and didn't want to pass up a free trip. The first day went well. We spent time experiencing all the touristy stuff that I had experienced many times over the years. My two daughters also enjoyed the sights, as they had never been to Niagara Falls. That night, we stayed at a large chain hotel. 3 connecting rooms on the 5th floor. Wow, that's a pretty big hotel.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I and our children, thanks for that deep, in-depth addition to the... Mm-hmm.
Well,
my wife and I
don't know what else you want me to say about a big hotel room other than... Mm-hmm.
Looking for Phil a little bit so I could cough, but I'll just power my way through it. My wife and I, children and brother and sister-in-law and their 2 boys all crammed into one room, while my wife's cousin and his family stayed in the other room so that the newlyweds could have some time together. At about midnight, while we were all sleeping, my sister-in-law sat up gasping awake, saying that she saw a little girl in a Victorian dress standing beside her and staring at her. My wife also heard a little voice calling Mommy. She passed it off as my nephews talking in their sleep, but my brother-in-law and sister-in-law clarified it wasn't their kids. At the same time, I had started feeling uneasy and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I'm not easily scared, as I've been a police officer for 12 years, but I feel like there was definitely something there. We shrugged it off and tried to go back to sleep. An hour later, my sister-in-law woke up screaming in sheer terror. She was crying, saying she had this overwhelming fear of dread. I guess the scream woke up my wife's aunt, who at the same time was a step down from being a Buddhist monk, and felt a presence in the room. She immediately began praying and blessing the room. She continued to stay there, to say there was a presence in the room, but could not say if it was malevolent or not. Well, that was enough for my sister-in-law, so she and her husband packed up her kids and left while my wife and I decided to stay. At about 9 the next morning, my brother and new sister-in-law offered to take my daughters down to the pool so we could sleep in. At about 10, they returned, and we decided it was time to pack up and leave. While we were getting ready, my new sister-in-law was blow-drying her hair in the bedroom area. The plug fell out of the socket. She didn't think anything of it, but thought she might have stretched the cord just a little too far and pulled it out. She then plugged the blow dryer back in and continued to dry her hair. This time she was standing next to the wall to keep from pulling the plug. Then it happened. She saw the plug pull itself out of the socket. At the same time, my 2-year-old daughter ran into the bathroom where my brother-in-law was using the toilet and exclaimed, "Uncle, someone is touching my shoulder." That was enough for her. She ran to our room, told my wife and I what was going on in their room. We then told her what happened to us the night before. We then followed her to the room to see if we had that same strange feeling that we had in our room. When I walked into the room, I saw 2 queen-size beds in the room. The one they slept in was unmade, and the other they didn't touch had an indentation of a body on it. My wife's cousin also told us that she was sleeping. She heard giggling in her room and could feel tiny hands tickling her. Aw, that's sweet.
Sweet and creepy.
Little hands just giving you some tickles. We left the next day and never went back. Being a curious person, I began searching for information. I've always been fascinated by the paranormal and was wondering if there's anything interesting about the site where the hotel was built. Being near the falls, there were a number of suicides and accidental deaths related to people jumping or falling into the water. I did, however, learn that in the late 1800s, there was an old pond, not an odd pond, but an old pond that locals used as a swimming hole nearby. According to the old news reports, dozens of children drowned there in some sort of accident. I also found several interesting reviews of the hotel online. One was written by a woman who received the room I stayed in as a complimentary room as she was getting married in one of the hotel venues. According to her angry review, someone had scribbled on her wedding dress with a pen like a child. Thanks for listening to my story. Keep up the good work. I have many others to share, which I sent in, but they have not yet been read. Take care, and that's Dave in Canada. Dave, fear not. Your stories probably do exist somewhere in our archives. And I'll tell you what, while we talk about this next little bit here, I'm going to try to pull up all of your stories so that we can see what we can find. Would that work? What do you think, Tim? Should we give Dave his due and read multiple stories of his in this episode?
Sure. Let's go to the Dave Kives. There you go.
I only see one other one from back in February of 2017. All right, let's go back. David Strom has a second letter that I found back, dated way long time ago, Tim. This goes back to February of 2017. A year ago, he sent these stories in. Somehow I've been remiss in my duties as a radio show host. We found your stories, David, and we're going to read the rest of them right now. Hi, Dave and Tim. I love your show, and it helps me get through the long hours that I spend in my cruiser. I'm a police officer north of the border and have had several paranormal encounters. My first encounter happened back in 2005 when I worked for a local children's aid, the Child Welfare Agency. I was working in a group home that was situated out in the country due to the issues some of these children had. This house was 150 years old and was an old Mennonite farmhouse. At the time, everything was okay and had been for the last few years that I'd worked there. Things changed, however, when we got a young man who suffered from severe schizophrenia. This young man ended up doing severe damage to the house, and the program was closed down. The house then underwent major renovations, and a new program started. I came in one morning, and the female staff that was working the night shift was pale as a ghost and told me the strange things that had been happening in the house. At the time, I believed in the paranormal, but always looked for other explanations for things. The only thing she said to me was the fire door in the basement just keeps opening and slamming and opening and slamming. I was there alone a few days later reading a book in the living room when I heard this loud bang. I jumped out of my skin and ran to the stairwell where the fire door was. It was closed. The only way that door could be opened was with the key that was in my pocket, or if the fire alarm went off. A short time later, my boss, who happened to be 6'7" and built like a freight train, was sitting in his office outside the fire door when he saw it open and slam. A few days later, I came in to work a night shift. I was there with two kids who were fast asleep. I was doing the nightly chores and was sweeping out the basement when I realized that I'd left the dustpan at the top of the stairs. I stepped onto the stairwell, and at the door at the top of the stairs violently slammed, sending the dustpan flying at my head. I walked up the stairs halfway, and it felt like I had stepped into a freezer, and the hair on the back of my neck stood straight up. I walked up the rest of the stairs to find no one there. The door, prior to being slammed, was propped open by a pile of dirty, wet towels, and the door itself was so light that a light breeze could close it. When I got to the top of the stairs after it had slammed, the pile of towels had been removed. Fast forward to the next night, and once again I'm working a night shift there, only this time I heard footsteps on the roof above me. Needless to say, I didn't want to work nights there again. Again, fast forward 2 to 3 months, and I was again working a night shift. At about 2 a.m., I heard the only kid in the house yelling, so I went upstairs to check on him. When I asked what was going on, he said, "Can you tell the new girls across the hall to leave me alone? I'm trying to sleep." He went on to say that there were 2 little girls in the hallway running into his room. He said there were 2 little girls with nightgowns on, and I told him he was the only kid in the house. We spent the rest of that night awake watching television in the office. Fast forward about 7 years. It's a lot of fast forwarding, Tim. I was at the time a sworn law enforcement officer and was having lunch at a private school in the middle of nowhere. It was an old historic area that had a monastery and a nunnery on the same property and was a little creepy. At the time, it was the summer, and I had the windows down. It was about 3 a.m. when I heard this blood-curdling, inhuman scream like nothing I'd ever heard before. I didn't know what it was and checked the area only to find nothing. This was later debunked as a cougar screaming, and not the fun kind you pick up at a single bar, he says. 2 years later, I'm in the same spot on a similar night, and I'm parking out of the school, which was surrounded by tall reeds and a creek. I looked up from my notebook and saw this black mass come up out of the ditch, passes solidly through my headlights and disappears about 15 feet to my right. I got out of there in a hurry. Keep up the great work. That's from Dave in Ontario, Canada. Dave, thank you for serving and sharing your stories with us, and I hope that caught you up, so we've got all of your stories read now. And if you've sent me multiple stories and I haven't found them, I'm sorry. We do try to get through our list with as many as we get from you people. All you people, you can make yourself feel better because, Dave, I know it's been a year for you, but do you realize I still have stories from 2006 that I have not gotten to? Maybe we should flip my email server upside down, and next week we should start reading some of the really old stories. What do you think, Tim?
I think so, yeah.
We'll give it a shot. That's it for this week. We will be back. We've got True Crime Tuesday tomorrow and another edition of the Best of Paranormal Talk Radio. And if you have not already subscribed to True Crime Tuesday, please do. I think you're going to like it. If you love true crime, you love strange stories, we delve into some of the most bizarre. Plus, we give you dumb crimes and stupid criminals. It's 90 minutes to 120 minutes every Tuesday delivered to you. $5 a month, that's all it costs. Gets you 4 brand new episodes. Subscribe at darknessradio.com. Click on the True Crime Tuesday banner. We'll be back again tomorrow with more of the best in Paranormal Talk Radio. This is Beyond the Darkness.